I had a one-on-one coaching session with Gary Vee in his new London offices, and I made £100,000 the very next week. And he gave me 3 pieces of advice, which I'm going to break down for you in this video. If you don't know who I am, my name's Usman Kayani, and I grew up poor as shit, and now I'm building my 8-figure business. And whilst building my business, I give away all of my lessons and teachings for free, so you can do the same and not be as poor as I was. Lesson 1 from Gary was all about simplicity. You've probably all heard from Gary say on social media, well, how many times a week are you posting? What platforms are you posting on? Are you posting on TikTok? Every single time you'll see the same thing repeated and repeated over and over again. But why does he do that? Why does he repeat the same thing? And do you know what he did? He said the exact same thing to me. But it took me a second to realize the simplicity of his question is the genius, because when he asked me how many times a week I was posting, logically I knew no matter what number I say, unless I said 50 times, he was going to say, well, just post more. But when I asked him what I should be doing with this specific problem I'm having in my business, and the specific problem was getting in more leads, because my skill is really in sales. I'm an expert within sales. As soon as the lead comes in, the sales process, the actual selling, sales teams is our skill as a business. But we needed more 7-figure business owners for our business. So I asked Gary, how should I be finding these business owners and where I should be finding them from? And he didn't say to me, well, how many times a week are you posting and what are you posting on? He said, are you posting on LinkedIn? And the reason why was he knew the saturation of the market for the audience that I'm looking for is LinkedIn. There's hardly anyone there posting with a lot of volume. Instagram, Meta, TikTok, they're flooded. TikTok, I'm not really going to find my audience. Instagram, they're there, those 7-figure business owners are there, but the absolute ad cost, the amount that you have to spend to acquire them has gone up, and Gary knows this. So he said to me, how many times do you keep posting on LinkedIn? And I said, well, I'm posting here and there. And he said how I need to be posting more. And internally I thought, well, I've just done all of my strategy for Meta. I've done all of my strategy for YouTube. The video that you're seeing now, this is a part of a strategy where we're trying to give away a lot of value, give away a lot of free value so people can actually benefit from it, build their business. And if they one day need our help, or even if they want to join the free community that we have linked below in the description, they can join and get a lot of value from us. But when Gary said I'm posting on LinkedIn, I honestly didn't even think to post on LinkedIn, because if you do look at my LinkedIn, it's Usman Kayani on there. I have all of my career, so you can see from the very start when I started at, when I literally left college, when I worked in a call center, when I had a gym, I sold the gym, then I worked for a gym chain, multiple sales jobs in between then, worked 5 or 6 years for one gym chain, working up to more senior roles, and then opening my own businesses after. That entire journey is there on LinkedIn for people to see. But the actual posting and the actual text isn't there. But why is it not there? When I actually did a deep dive that evening, the truth is I wasn't posting on LinkedIn because when I was young, I labeled myself as dyslexia. I didn't actually get diagnosed. And I find a lot of people do this. What we will do is when we don't have a skill or we have a deficiency in a certain area, we label ourselves as, well, I've got this thing. This thing is wrong with me. That's why I can't do it. We justify to ourselves why we can't do it. And you know what I was doing? I was justifying to myself, well, because my spelling, grammar, English language isn't as good when I'm writing, because speaking skills, I feel as though my speaking skills only developed because my writing skills were weak and I relied more on speaking, which means my speaking got even better, which is why I'm able to make these videos. But the writing skills still need development, and I didn't really do that. This is why a lot of the times when you look at my business, the weakness was, well, we didn't have our ads going because I didn't write the copy. We didn't have LinkedIn posts going because I didn't write the copy for that. We don't really send out emails. But then how do we fix all these sides of the business? Well, it was me that needed to overcome that. So when Gary asked why am I not posting on LinkedIn, I was really candid and I was really honest. I said, well, the thing that stopped me was exactly like I've just explained to you. The barrier was actually me feeling confident about my writing. And he said to me, and this is, you could probably give me the same advice and I'd probably give it to somebody else. He said, no one cares. And the truth is, no one does care. And I am going to go into some more lessons that Gary gave me, because I think the second and third are absolutely killers, which I'll be going through in this video if you stick around. But when Gary actually explained that no one actually cares how good your grammar is or how good something is, because the thing is, on LinkedIn, when I had my previous managers, my previous directors there, I would get shy about posting my new business because I would think, oh, there might be some area of judgment for me. They might think, why is he posting this? Why is he saying that? Oh, there's an error that he's not articulated himself good enough. And because of that, feeling of being judged, I didn't post it. What did I do? I hurt myself from making so much money. So all I did was I just watched 5 hours of YouTube videos because I knew that I need to start posting. And what's the quickest thing I could do? I could go home on a Thursday evening. That same night, by the way, I went home that same night and I got home at 8 p.m. And do you know what I did? I watched 4 to 5 hours of videos to educate myself on copy. And I learned every bit of advice said. You don't need to sound like everybody else. Yes, there's a framework of where you can get intrigue and there's a character and there's a story arc and there's storytelling, but you say it in your own way. So what did I do? I came up with a strategy where I could repurpose all of my content from LinkedIn, email, and posting it out on different written platforms like Twitter. So now I've come up with a clear strategy where I can post on this platform, which I was not doing. I was not emailing us. And now we have a newsletter. So if you're interested in our newsletter, which I'm writing myself, it's not written by my team or a copywriter. It's written every single day. And the best way for you to access this newsletter is if you go below in the description, you're going to see an access for our community. So in our school community, it's free value. We got loads of courses on there on teach you how to sell, manage your team, sales. There's tactics on every single level from more junior tactics around selling all the way to more senior tactics on running a company and running sales management techniques. So we have that free community there for you if you want to plug in, sign up. And then as soon as you sign up, you're going to start to receive emails from me. And I write those every single day. And those emails that I'm writing now are all around giving value. They're not around selling. So this was my biggest lesson because now I can repurpose that same content from my email onto LinkedIn and onto Twitter. So what I've done is I've overcome something that I had a bottleneck with. I was so shy on posting because I was the barrier. And what was I doing? I was hurting and losing my own money. I was losing money. And now on LinkedIn, the truth is the sales services that we offer are absolutely incredible and we get great feedback. As soon as companies come in, they can come down to our London offices, we'll train them here, we'll even work with them remotely. We have so many different formats that will work with companies from 7, 8 figure and maybe even 9 figure companies, but the main focus for us is these 7 and 8 figure businesses. And when we're working with these businesses, a lot of the times they would have come through different channels. They could have come through Instagram, they could have come through YouTube like you're watching today, or they could have come through LinkedIn. And to be able to be everywhere and not just be repurposing what the original plan was, well, you know what I'll do? I'll just get my assistant to just repurpose my reels or my short form content or my YouTube videos and just say that same stuff on LinkedIn. And the truth is it doesn't go down the same way. It's not the same language. So you have to see the persona, which is what I really have been learning. And I've just bought the new Gary Vee book. So we just got this book and Day Trading Attention. And it does talk a lot about algorithms, but the main thing that I'm going to be doing is when I deep dive into this book, because I've not actually read it yet. And the main reason why I got this book was actually to understand the different persona of different platforms. So let me just explain the different persona and exactly what I mean by that before we move on to point number 2. Because I think you understand fully what I mean by point number 1, getting over yourself and not actually being able to being your own barrier. With the persona of platforms, if you think of TikTok as a bratty teenage kid, and every time you post, the kid has ADHD and you need to keep that kid's attention. That's why the content needs to be edited that way. And if you think of Instagram as some mom who's wearing Uggs, wearing a fur coat, and everything needs to look nice and clean and presentable and have a cleaner look to it, when you think of platforms having a persona, that's when you'll actually post very differently. And LinkedIn, I had labeled it as a persona for what it actually wasn't. I labeled it as something that it was my old work colleagues and people I used to work with and people of an environment I didn't enjoy. But what it actually is, it's just a professional place to connect with companies, and to the language is just used completely different. So I'm able now to post on LinkedIn, and we're able to have an entire strategy where we have email, have LinkedIn, and have our Twitter posts, as well as every other platform, so we can reach more people. Your brand needs to be everywhere. And Gary, the great thing that he's done is brand. And when you look at his website, his Instagram, his TikTok, his Twitter, everything is cohesive. It's one language. And that's one thing I was missing. The simplicity of him asking, Are you posting on LinkedIn? It triggered a bigger conversation. And this is exactly what we spoke about and how we went through it. And that is lesson 1. The second lesson Gary Vee taught me was humility. Now, when he was talking to me, his cadence, the speed of he was talking, his eye contact, everything completely slowed down. He did not rush me. He just answered my questions. And before I finished, he said, is there anything else that you need to know? Now, if you think about it, his attention, everyone wanted his attention in this day. He's opening a new office and everyone wanted to speak to him. But he didn't make me feel rushed. And the lesson here for me was, at times I'll speak to a business owner that's completely junior, not even starting their business, not even running towards the same goals I am. And in the past, I've been short with that person and not given them enough time. And I've given them 1-word answers, 2-word answers, and say, just try this. Because I think a lot of the times, well, he's probably not going to listen. She's probably not going to listen. Is he going to even follow this advice? Because their questions aren't very specific and they're just asking a lot of the times for the sake of asking. And what I realized is I had to watch Gary Vee for 7 years before I actually listened to posting online. And although this person that I might be giving advice to, they may not listen to me that one time, but I might be just one voice in their journey of them asking 100 different people over 5 to 10 years that will trigger them to make a decision. So the lesson here was humility, but also knowing that you're just a part of someone's journey. You don't have to be the pivotal person to say, go and do this. Because Gary's meeting with me was pivotal. But the 7 years before that where I followed him and I wasn't posting online, because it's been probably like close to 10 years now, and I've been posting for around 1.5 years or 2 years. But I followed him for 7 years and I didn't post. I used to see him on social media. It was more entertainment, listening, fake motivation. That's what I was watching him for. But if I never watched him for all of that time, I would have never actually left my job and actually thought, you know what, I can do this. Because I had so many influences throughout the years from all the people and their accounts that I've been following. And everything influenced me because there's no friends and there's no family around me that do what I do. They're all, their dreams aren't as big as mine. They look at me and say, they're so proud of me and this, like they think I've achieved all this stuff. And my dreams are far bigger than theirs. So they couldn't have influenced me as much as all the people that I was looking at and thinking, I want to go above and beyond and want to be there. So that's one big lesson regarding humility and regarding giving people your time. And you don't have to be the one person who's going to actually make the decision and actually push them to do that thing there and then. You could just be one part of their journey. And being a part of someone's journey is absolutely incredible. And it does go to, like, when making these videos, this might not be the time that you actually make the decision. I hope it is. I hope that you watch this and you start to act different. You start to sell more, manage your team better. You start to change the way you're doing things. You start to earn more money. That is my goal. But this might be just one of the goals of the future. This might be just one of the videos that you need to watch to be able to cause action. And that action that you will cause will create another reaction, which will cause another action. Do you know, when I got this office here in London, I knew I had to film. But what did I have to do to force myself to film? Well, I had to build out a studio of $20,000. I had to hire someone to be in here. I had to set up everything to be in the studio to force myself to get the videos out. Did I actually want to do that? Could I have filmed on my iPhone? Yes, but I would have made excuses. So what did I do? I put myself into a corner where I had no choice but to do so. And that's what really worked for me. And that lesson of humility on how you actually need to give everyone their time and actually slow down and listen and be present was a great lesson from Gary. Now, the third lesson that I got was the absolute killer. I asked Gary why he just asks people to post a lot of the times and why the content that he puts out is just post more. And I wasn't calling him out. I just wanted to understand his strategy. Because if I understand his strategy, and I'm going to share it with you today because it's an absolute killer strategy. Because if I understand his strategy, then I can understand the thought process behind Wiley's content, which will influence the way I go about and make my strategy. And what he told me was, in the simplest way, if he just asks you to post more, what will that do? He can't affect your SOPs for your business. He can't affect the way you train your staff. He can't affect the way you run your ads. He can't affect you making more sales. But what thing can he say and can he do to make sure you actually grow your business and grow your personal brand? Well, if all he does is to do the simplest form and ask you just to post more, just one thing, what would happen? You would inevitably get more leads. You would get more people into your business. And even if you're absolutely terrible at selling, and even if you're terrible at fulfillment, what would happen? You would gain more business because with the rule of numbers, if you had 1,000 leads come through and you close none of them, Well, what happened if you closed 10, if you had 10,000 leads come through? You might close one. And because you had so much attention, the amount of volume that came in from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel, enough people sieved out and bought something because you had enough attention. And this is what I see for a lot of influencers. I've worked with a lot of influencers. At one point in 2023, I worked with a lot of large influencers on growing their business, specifically within fitness and other industries. But I've worked with a lot of course creators and in the high ticket community. But when we worked with a lot of guys who had a big audience, in the beginning, I used to almost be annoyed and think, his sales process is shit, his sales skills are shit. And I used to think, well, that's not good. He's just going to lose all this money. He just needs to improve. He needs to hire people. He needs to improve himself. And I used to give them all this training, all these modules, and they would never do it. But the lesson here was they have such a big top of funnel because their skill is creativity. Their skill is posting on social media. Their skill is making content that others want, which allows them to not be good at the sales process, which allows them to not have the greatest product, but they're still able to make money. Now, this is provided this influencer is not just a brand whore who's just making content to just get brand deals. But as long as you're someone who's trying to monetize, if you have enough of an audience, you will sell. And if I put it into a tactical term for you, if you have 100,000 followers on Instagram and you are terrible at sales, you are terrible at messaging people back on the DM, you are terrible at every part of the sales process, and you make a story post and you say, if you're interested in working with me, drop me a message. A terrible message too. Just with the rule of numbers, because you've been posting for that long in the good quality content that you've been putting out, you will make a sale because there's enough people there to message. And because of the rule of numbers and your terrible skill of sales and the terrible skills of posting, you're still able to make the sales. Now, you know that I'm an advocate for good sales techniques because this is why we can influence these business owners really well, because when we improve their sales process and their sales skills, they'll close far more. Their bottom of the funnel, their middle of the funnel is just far more effective because we'll capture way more sales. But this simplicity of Gary telling me just post more and his strategy just telling people just post more content was the simplest thing. And those were the 3 lessons that I learned from Gary. If you're interested in joining our free community, link below. I'll catch you in the next video. If you're interested, subscribe, or you'll find the next video on the left-hand side. Click, and I'll see you in the next video.